Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayat. For reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, and to Narayan, which is the supermost human being, and to Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and unto the author Srila Vyasadeva. We are reading from the third canto. The third canto is entitled The Status Quo. We are reading from chapter 5, Vidura's talk with Maitreya, and we are on text
32.
32. We are on text 32. One word at a time, Sanskrit. Tamasa, Bhuta Sukshma Adi, Yata, Kam Lingam, Atmana, Tamaso Bhuta Sukshma Adi, Yata Kam Linga Atmanaha, Tamaso Bhuta Sukshma Adi, Yata Kam Lingam Atmanaha, Tamaso Bhuta Sukshma Adi, Yata Kam Linga Atmanaha. A two-line. This is a two-line verse. It's quite very rare.
Tamaso Bhuta Sukshmadir.
Tamaso Bhuta Sukshmadir.
Yatakam Lingam Atmana.
Yatakam Lingam Atmana. Anyone else online would like to chant? Here we have only Dear Govinda as a guest in his own house.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Tamaso Bhuta Sukshmadir.
Tamaso Bhuta Sukshmadir.
Yatakam Lingam Atmana.
Yatakam Lingam Atmana. Christy?
Tamaso Bhuta Sukshmadir.
Tamaso Bhuta Sukshmadir.
Yatakam Lingam Atmanaha.
Yatakam Lingam Atmanaha. Anybody else? Okay.
Tamasu Bhakta Sukshmadir.
Tamaso Bhuta Sukshmadir.
Yatakam Lingam Atmanaha.
Yatakam Lingam Atmanaha. Anyone else? Okay, word for word translation. Tamasa, from the mode of passion.
From the mode of passion.
Bhuta Sukshma Adi,
Bhuta Sukshma Adi.
subtle sense objects.
Subtle sense objects.
Yata,
Yata.
from which.
From which.
Kam, the sky.
The sky.
Lingam,
Lingam.
symbolic presentation.
Symbolic representation.
Symbolic representation. Atmana,
Atmana.
of the Supreme Soul.
of the Supreme Soul.
The sky is a product of sound, and sound is a transformation of egoistic passion. In other words, the sky is the symbolic representation of the Supreme Soul. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In a Vedic hymn, it is said, Etasmad Atmana Akasha Sambhuta. The sky is a symbolic representation of the Supreme Soul. Those who are egoistic in passion and ignorance cannot conceive of the personality of Godhead. For them, the sky is a symbolic representation of the Supreme Soul. I'm going to go to this next verse because I think it will help us make sense. Kalamaya sha yogena bhagavad vikshitam nabasa nishritam sparsham vikurvam nirmame nilam. Kala time, Maya external energy, Hamsa yogena, partly mixed, Bhagavat, the personality of Godhead, Vikshitam, glance over, Naba, the sky, Nabasa, from the sky, Anushritam, being so contacted, Sparsham, touch, Vikurvat, being transformed, Nirmame, was creating, Anilam, the air. Translation. Therefore, the personality of Godhead glances over the sky, partly mixed with eternal time and external energy, and thus develops the touch sensation from which the air in the sky was produced. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. All material creation takes place from subtle to gross. The entire universe has developed in that manner. From the sky develops the touch sensation, which is a mixture of fertilities, external energy, and the glance of the personality of Godhead. The touch sensation develops into the air in the sky. Similarly, all other gross matter also develop from subtle to gross. Sounds develop into sky, touch develop into air, and form develop into fire, taste develop into water, and smell develop into earth. Okay. Om Gyanati Mirandasya Gyanajala Shalakaya Shakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Upakadamayam Natati Swapadam Tikam Vandeham Shigu Shiyuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Sha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitas Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagat Pate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Pada Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyacha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvesesha Shunyavadi Pastyacha Dejatarine. So verse 32 read, the sky is a product of sound, and sound is a transformation of egoistic passion. In other words, the sky is a symbolic representation of the Supreme Soul. Therefore, text 33, therefore the personality of God that glance over the sky, partly mixed with eternal time and external energy, and that develops a touch sensation from which the air in the sky was produced. Hare Krishna. So I was thinking, like, everywhere there is creation, it's kind of difficult for my brain to catch on to it. And my brain wants to catch on to it. And this morning I was wondering, why is it that it's so difficult to have my brain catching on to it? And what came to mind is because my lack of observation and me taking for granted things that I'm not questioning. And that's what came to mind. And I want to read the previous verses to kind of bring it together. So Vidura is hearing from Maitreya, who is responding to his first question. If you remember, Vidura didn't ask question, even so, Vidura is a member of the Yadu dynasty, is a member of Krishna's dynasty. So he's very advanced. In fact, he's a pure devotee. In fact, he's an eternal associate of the Lord. So he's so advanced that we can imagine, wow, such an advanced person will just ask questions about the rasa dance of Krishna with the gopis and his relationship with Radharani. But no, Vidura is very humble. He said, I don't know anything. And then he asked, you want to hear about the creation? So that means that it's really important for us to hear about the creation. And there is reason why it is important to understand where we are at, to understand the context, to understand the container, to understand that all take place because of the glance of the Lord. In fact, not even a blade of glass can move with the sanction of the Lord. And so in every step in manifestation, we can say creation, manifestation, it's like, it's eternal, like creation and also manifestation, because the energy of the Lord are eternal, but the creation of the material elements are temporary, so they and everything in the material world is created and destroyed. So everything that's material, we can say creation, but everything that's an energy of the Lord, we don't say creation, we say manifestation or unmanifested. So it's okay, everything is the Lord, so there's no creation. But no, that's not true either, because there is creation. Everything that's temporary is created and grow and maintain for some time, also do some byproduct and dwindle and then disappear. And not disappear, die, is finished. It's finished. It doesn't exist anymore. So let's read a little bit. The Lord is the undisputed proprietor of everything. Was only seer, the cosmic manifestation is not present at that time, and thus he felt imperfect without his plenary and separated part and parcel, the material energy was dormant, whereas the eternal potency was manifested. Okay, so that's the starting point where we start here. This is like the Lord, spiritual sky, and the Lord is everything at that time, all the living entities that are rebellious, separated from Krishna, they are dormant, they are not manifested, they are dormant. And then, but the Lord, out of his will to, because he feels separation. There is part of himself, that's part and parcel of himself, that's not with him enjoying. And so he feels separation. And so that's the start of it is the will of the Lord and nothing else. And then we continue. The Lord is a seer and external energy, which is seen, works as both cause and effect in a cosmic manifestation. O greatly fortunate Vidura, this external energy is known as Maya or illusion. Through agency only is entire material manifestation made possible. So the Lord is overseeing and is seeing, and kind of the material cosmic manifestation is seen by the Lord. And that's a beautiful thing to remember, because we cannot hide anything from the Lord. We we can choose to be transparent. We can choose to be transparent or not, but to the Lord, we are always transparent, because we are seen, completely 100% seen. Every part of the material cosmic manifestation is seen by the seer. And then everything manifests from subtle to gross. And that subtle part at the core is the desire of the living entities. Without the desire of the living entities to enjoy separated from Krishna, in a sense that part of Krishna's pastime wouldn't exist. So, and now it's hard to know, like, does Krishna want that? But in any case, part of is separated part and parcel, something that intrinsic to separated part and parcel is free will. Free will. And that free will allow the Lord to have suspense in his relationship, to have to really receive his devotees in a very personal way. Without the free will, then there will be not such a possibility of exchange, because there will be no volunteer giving of his part and parcel to the Lord. So again, he's a supreme enjoyer. So everything comes from his desire to enjoy, including our free will. And then you make it that we do have the possibility of using, maybe misusing that free will. And so we may misuse that free will by thinking like, I want to be the Lord. Like at one point or another, thinking like, why is he the enjoyer and the one that everybody serves? In some, maybe not as gross as I'm experiencing it or I'm expressing it right now, but a seed of that, a grain of sand of that, a grain of something in us that is using this free will for our own, enjoyment, is using or desiring to use, very subtle desiring. So at that time, then we are cast away, in a sense. We are cast away, not out of any punishment from the Lord, not out of anything, out of his desire to fulfill our desire. It's like sometimes with children, they want to do something and we don't want them to do it. We know it's not good for you. It's not going to lead you anywhere. But we know that what they want to do is, it's not going to destroy them. It's not going to annihilate them. And that maybe for them to grow and expand and become stronger in their position, it is better to let them do it than not. And so we let them do, and maybe they get hurt in some ways, but not in a way that's destructive, not in a way that annihilates them. And then they learn from that. So it's a little bit like that. The Lord is not trying to hurt us in any way, shape, and form. At the same time, he knows you're not going to be happy if you do what you want to do. But still, I don't want to impose that on you. And I'm going to let you be and experience on your own. And when you're ready, you come back to me. And in order for you to experience that on your own, I have my energy called Maya, illusion, that's going to cover you and give you the illusion that you are the Lord of everything, that you're the controller. And then, okay, go. And it's not like we, when the first starting point of that grain of sand happened, it's not like we are degraded here in, Western world of Kali Yoga. It's just, it's very progressive over 3 trillion of years progression. Of course, trillion of years, it's insignificant in the time of Krishna, in Krishna's realm, where there is no time, or time is conspicuous by its absence. So it's for us, like, if your child wants to do something, know that the time of an adult, I know that because I remember being a child and thinking days were so long. And there was so much boredom in the days. So the kids are so bored. There's so much boredom in days for the children because it seems that time is so much longer. So, and an adult, a day of the life of an adult seems to go like a flash. So that's a similar idea that, if the child wants to do something, it may, from the perspective of the child, it may be long, like the child is trying something new that is going to learn. That's not that great for me. And maybe take a week. And for the child, it's like eternity a week. But a week is for in the life of an adult is not much. And the adult can say, oh yeah, I will spare a week. And then for the child, it's forever. And then, oh, why did you make me suffer for a full week? But for the parents, well, yeah, you have your life ahead of you. And, that week was maybe painful for you. However, you have learned now, you won't want to, eat candy every night, or I don't know what the child wanted to do. But we understand the principle here. So Krishna is like that. And he facilitates our desire. We have a desire, grain of desire, he facilitates it with this external energy called Maya, illusion. Maya means what is not. And then we continue. The Supreme Living Being, in his feature as a transcendental Purusha incarnation with the Lord's plenary expansion, impregnates the material nature of 3 modes, and thus, by the influence of eternal time, the living entities appear. So that's for us to understand that even so Krishna is Ishwara Parama Krishna, Sakshitananda Vigraha, Anadir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. So even so Krishna is like the supreme Purusha, Swayam Rupa, the first form, the original form, let's say. And even so, he is the cause of all causes. He doesn't get involved. He just expands himself in different Vishnu form, and then in a material world in Mahavishnu. And then Mahavishnu is the container, in a sense, is the container of those souls that have been rebellious at one point or another, and that have been winding his body at the end of the last cosmic manifestation. And those, as soon as, and then there is external the external energy of the Lord Pradhan, which is inert. Pradhan is not it's a material element, but it's inert. It doesn't have any power of creation in its own. It's like if you see some clay doesn't have any power of creation of a pot, but with the help of the potter, you can transform clay into a pot. So with the help of Mahavishnu, of using those three modes of material nature and the living entities into the inert clay, then creation takes place. There is a starting point there, yeah, and that's the Mahatattva. Therefore, influenced by the interaction of eternal time, the supreme sum total of matter called Mahatattva. So the supreme sum total of matter is Mahatattva. So like the material energy is not the total matter. It's just one part. It's like the clay is not the total pot. There is a shape to the pot, and there is a potter. It's a gross analogy, but we can try to that. So the Mahatattva became manifest, and this Mahatattva, and in this Mahatattva, the unallowed goodness, the Supreme Lord sows the seed of universal manifestation out of his own body. So I was thinking about that, sow the seed of material manifestation. And I was thinking earlier, I said, how it's so difficult to grasp for our mind all those concepts. And I was meditating on why. And I think why is because everything we take for granted. So I thought of an egg, because most of us, probably all of us here, we have eaten eggs. So we know what's inside the egg. If we were all vegetarian from our birth, maybe we don't even know what's inside the eggs. But I break an egg, I open it, there is that yellow thing in the middle, and there is that gooey things around. So that's an egg. But like an egg become a chicken. And if I take it further, I can see that the total material, gross and subtle necessity to create every aspect of the chicken is inside that yellow and white substance, like a gelatinous substance. And that means that within that yellow and gelatinous substance, there is an intelligence. To put in motion the manifestation of the chicken. And to extend the analogy, like in that yellow and gelatinous substance, there is a subtle form of the chicken. The subtle form of the chicken is right there. Maybe our eyes cannot see. However, our eyes can see that if we wait, at the end there is something with wings, with legs, with toes, with eyes to see, with ears to ears, with all the five senses, and also, a brain of some kind, and a subtle body, mind, intelligence, false ego, and very strong false ego, because the living entity, when it's in a chicken, it just believes that he is a chicken. There is very little chance for the living entity in the chicken body to realize that I'm spiritual having a chicken experience. But anyhow, because we are not inquisitive, there is so many things in matter that we take for granted, that if we were inquisitive, we'll make it that when we hear about the cosmic manifestation, it's not mind-boggling. It's just come to a place. Yeah, of course. Of course, there's Pradhan, and then there's the material nature, and then there is a father that puts the living entities into it. And then there is that Mahatattva, which the Mahatattva we can see like it's a fertilized egg, and everything exists, the wings and the feather and everything that makes the chicken exist in that Mahatattva on the subtle form. It's not grossly manifested, it's subtle. So just right there, we can understand a little better by not taking it for granted. We can already extend ourselves to understand, okay, what's the Mahatattva, instead of, oh no, it's nothing we see, nothing we understand. Whoa, an egg. It's a good form. It's a good way to go to that. And then if we take the egg, the formation of the human being, then at the origin of course, for the chicken is true too, there is a false ego. What is that soul identifying with that is going to, on a certain level, make that intelligence in the yellow and gelatinous things create a chicken? So similarly with a human being, it starts with something gelatinous, amorphous, gelatinous. And with it, that amorphous, gelatinous blob, there is an intelligence, a complete intelligence to bring that blob from the subtlety of that false ego, that false identification with that soul that may be identified in such a way that will give birth to a spirit soul in a woman body, for example. Will give birth to a spirit soul in a country, a certain country. Give birth to a spirit soul, and also to give birth to a spirit soul with certain mental influence, certain intellectual influence, according to what gathered from what the desire of the living entity and what the deserve, what the deserve. So all that is subtle. It's subtle false ego attached that manifests the sense object, and the sense object that manifests into gross elements. And that's where we are at in manifestation. How the sense object is sound. First comes the sound, and from sound comes ether. And ether of the sky pushed, with the help of course, to the pushing of the supreme soul in the universe. He pushed the supreme soul in the universe pushed the sky mixed with the material energy and the pushing energy of the Lord is really called time. That's a pushing energy, isn't it? It's just so much pressure all the time. We are constantly pushed by time. And so that sound that creates the sky is pushed. And when it's pushed, it creates air. And the air, and no, it creates, sorry. Okay, wait, I'm getting, so yeah, the sky pushed by the energy of the Lord, time, and create the touch. It creates the touch, and the touch creates the air. And okay, what does that mean? How do I understand it? It's Sankhya philosophy. People spend millions of years studying it and writing about it. And then the air, with the help of the Supreme Soul, in every layers that's happened, is pushing towards more and more manifestation, gross manifestation, and the air kind of turn into form, and the form manifests fire. So it's like in the egg, remember the eggs. There is pushing energy that, manifest. I haven't studied biology so deeply that I really don't know what they first can perceive with their microscope. But I know there is a lot going on before anything can be perceived with a microscope within what's in the egg, what's in the yellow and gelatinous thing. And then the fire, pushed with eternal time with the material energy and the will of the Supreme Lord, manifest into tests, and the tests give birth to water, and water move to smell, and the smell bring earth. And then we have our 5 gross elements, taking place. And then, in all the different elements, I thought about yesterday, I had a realization about that, but I didn't write it down. But so like on a subtle form, all there is sound. And that's so important. On the subtle form, like the first manifestation of the object of the senses, the first manifestation is sound. And sound is what awakens us. So if we are sleeping, sound is awaken us. Of course, the other element can awaken us. We can be awakened by touch, and we can be awakened by smell, and by, putting something in our mouth. But sound is awakening us. And sound is the most subtle. And then the other object of the senses manifest. And more, the grosser and the grosser element, the more object of the senses there is. So in earth, we have all the object of the senses. In the earth, we can smell the earth, we can taste the earth, we can, the earth has a form, and we can give a form to the earth, and we can touch we can touch the earth, and then there is sound in the earth. We can make a lot of sound coming from earth. A lot of people make objects out of sound, drums or whatever. There's sound. So all the objects of the senses are when all the grosser elements manifest. And then, for example, if we take water, doesn't have smell. Water doesn't smell. Only water smell when we add something coming from earth, like tea or things. There's no smell to water. And but there is a form, and we can touch water, and there is sound. And then so like that we can continue with like fire. Fire has a form, it has a form, but we cannot test fire, nor can we smell fire. We can smell fire as it burns something from earth. So what we smell is always the earth. It's a wood in a fire, but fire in itself doesn't have a smell and it doesn't have a taste. But there is a form and we can touch fire. In fact, if we touch fire, we get burned, and maybe we understand something about the quality of fire. And then there is sound to fire. So like that, there's a manifestation. So that's the quality in each element. The sky, the air, fire, water, and earth. So we are this body, and the body of the chicken, and the body of the grass, and the body of the trees. We are made of those 5 elements. And mainly we are on earth. Mainly our bodies are made of earth and water, mainly. And then there is all the earth in the body, and like that. So for us, because we are made of earth, and not all living entities are bodies of earth, there is living entities that have body of fire. There is living entities who have bodies that are just sky, as ghosts, they just have sky. So for us, we are tortured by all the sense objects. So the sense objects, they are manifesting. So let's continue here to see how it goes. Therefore, the Mahatattva differentiated itself into many different forms as a reservoir of the would-be entities, as a reservoir of would-be entities. So the would-be entities, I understand it as being the shape, like the egg. Egg is a reservoir of the would-be entity of the chicken. So the Mahatattva is a reservoir of the would-be entities of all the 8,400,000 species of life that are dispersed in the universe. The Mahatattva is chiefly in a mode of ignorance, and it generates the false ego. So there's that the mode of ignorance, it's ignoring my position as an eternal servant of the Lord. I'm completely in ignorance. So the living entities is completely in ignorance by the time he enters the cosmic manifestation of his constitutional position. And then that ignorance creates false identification. There is real identification. The ego is real identification. I am a part and parcel of Krishna, eternal servitor of Krishna. And then from the Mahatattva and that mode of ignorance of my real position, constitutional position, then that's a false ego. That's false identification, which is, it's illusion, it's craziness, it's ignorance. That's not who I am. It's like if I'm saying today, like, okay, I'm Napoleon, you'll say, no, you're not Napoleon. Well, if I'm continuing to maintain that I'm Napoleon, then you will say you're in a complete ignorance. Your identification is false, like that. And it is a plenary expansion of the personality of Godhead with full consciousness of creative principle and time for fructification. So that Mahatattva is a plenary expansion of the personality of Godhead with full consciousness of creative principle and time for fructification. So everything, all the creative principles and time for fructification is contained also in a yellow and gelatin. Yes? Like not every egg needs the same incubation time. A dinosaur maybe need more time to incubate and manifest, and all the elements, all the creative principles and time for fructification is also in a I don't know if it's yellow and gelatinous, if it was a dinosaur, but let's imagine it's something like that. So it's there. The creative principle and time for fructification is also there. So why not in the Mahatattva? It's just there. It's all the elements, all the creative principles, and the time for fructification, which is big scale time for fructification, trillions of years like that, and is right there. So we continue. Mahatattva, or the great causal truth, transform into false ego, which is manifested in three phases: cause, effect, and the doer. All such activities are on a mental plane and are based on the material elements, gross senses and mental speculation. The false ego is represented in three different modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. So again, if we take the Mahatattva being that eggs, so the great causal truth of that eggs transform into false ego. So the cause of that eggs is a desire of the living entities, and it transforms into false ego that I'm going to be a chicken. That's it. And which manifests in three phases: the cause of the chicken, the effect, the manifestation of the chicken body, and the doer, the chicken is going to do and act like a chicken. Yeah, I'm going there, and it's something to just consider, because how much we take for granted an egg, like, oh, just happened to come to a chicken. No, there's so much going on before, after, during, within, all capacity of the chicken formation is inside that gooey thing. Okay, so now we continue. The false ego is transformed into mind by interaction with the mode of goodness. All the demigods who control the phenomenal world are also products of the same principle, namely the interaction of false ego and the mode of goodness. So whatever is true for the egg, and the eggs, is true for the demigods. The demigods are also, there is a substance to start them. Of course, demigod like Brahma come directly out of the lotus, the navel of the Lord. So there is in that lotus flower, there is also a component of Brahma, I guess. And then, and so they manifest in different form, however, right there from the mind. So the false ego is first, and the false ego in goodness manifests the mind. And we can understand that the false ego of a chicken, the mind of a chicken is not the same than the mind of a human being, or to speak about the mind of a demigod. So the transformation happened differently. The senses are certainly products of the mode of passion and false ego, and therefore philosophical speculative knowledge and fructive activity are predominantly products of the mode of passion. So all those is in the Mahatattva, in a not latent, it's not dormant, it's latent, meaning it's like about to manifest from subtle to gross. The sky is a product of sound, and the sound is a transformation of egoist passion. In other words, the sky is a symbolic representation of the Supreme Soul. Thereafter, the personality of Godhead glances over the sky, partly mixed with eternal time and the external energy, and thus develops the touch sensation, which the air and the sky are products from. So I already share about that. And so before creation, there is only the will of the Lord. There is no cause and effect. There is only the will of the Lord. The cause and effect is kind of give obligation. Isn't it? Give obligation. You give like automatic force, control. but the will of the Lord is not under any rules of cause and effect. And as soon as the Mahatattva manifests, then cause and effect are kind of at the start of the creative energy, like that. What else I want to share? So I like what Srila Prabhupada shared, that everything comes from subtle to gross. And that's a very known principle that people use. So if everything comes subtle to gross, the mind is in a mode of goodness, and it's the manifestation of false ego in a mode of goodness. So we have power of creation. That's really what it is. We have power of creation. And however we use our mind, everything is coming from subtle to gross, then that's where we are going to be led. Consciously or unconsciously, that's where we are going to be led. So the whole process of Krishna consciousness is to transform our desires. Because what's the seed of creation, the seed of us being thrown into existence in the material world, is our desire. And so to kind of rewind this process and getting out of illusion, Maya, getting out of I'm Napoleon, it's what I need to do is to desire to be united back with Krishna, to desire to be back in my constitutional position as servant of Krishna, eternally servant of Krishna, because that's who I am. That's who all of us are. We are eternal servant of Krishna. And somehow or other, because of a misuse of our free will, we have been cast into this material world. And understanding how the material world is created can help us step out of the drama of Prakriti, our daily life drama, to see that, okay, well, all that is just moving, pushed by time. And then it's all based on false identification, my false identification, but also everybody else's false identification. And then to know that in control of everything, behind everything, like during the creation, every moment there is the hand of the Lord. So behind everything else that's created, or that we are created in some way or another, there is the hand of the Lord. And by continually focusing on that, by continually focusing on those 5 gross elements, 3 subtle elements, to understand the super soul, to understand the Mahatattva, then we get support to get out of the egg, to extract from the egg the soul, to extract from the egg, like to extract the soul from all the elements inside the eggs, and the principle of creation inside the eggs, and the time of fructification inside the eggs, to get out of that egg that we are in, to identify as eternal servant of the Lord. And how we do that? By the process of surrendering to someone who is out of the egg. As long as we surrender to fallible soldiers, that I'm going to stay fallible. I'm going to be falling again into the cycle of birth and death. But if I allow myself, like, oh, someone is completely out of the eggs. He came in the eggs to see me, but he's out of the egg. And if he's out of the egg and he's reaching out, he have a hand in the eggs, he said, here you can come. Here is what you need to do to come out of the eggs. here is what you need to hear again and again. Hear about the creation. Hear about the amazing activities of the Lord, even the pastime of the Lord of creation. Hear how it is beyond everything. Hear how nothing moves without him. Hear how so the intelligence that's in the egg that allow to manifest the chicken is in the universe everywhere. That intelligence is everywhere. It surrounds us. We can attract it. We can breathe it in. We can allow ourselves to experience it tangibly. That intelligence is all over us and it's inside us. And inside us, we have super soul guiding every moment of our path. And the spiritual master is here to help us hear the voice of the super soul. And by hearing the voice of the super soul, little by little, we get to have a relationship with the super soul. And that relationship with the super soul is going to guide us to want to know about who is that super soul? And to a personal relationship into the Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And all that is contained in sound vibration. Remember? Sound, that's where we start. And the sound vibration that takes us out of the eggs is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. I'm going to stop here. I'm going to read Sanskrit. Tamaso bhuta sukshmadi yatakam lingam atmanaha. The sky is a product of sound, and sound is transformation of egoistic passion. In other words, the sky is a symbolic representation of the Supreme Soul. Therefore, thereafter, the personality of Godhead glances over the sky, partly mixed with eternal time and external energy, and thus develops a touch sensation, from which the air in the sky was produced. Hare Krishna, thank you for listening. I know, for a while it's going to be a lot of Sankhya philosophy in our reading of Bhagavatam, and I believe that it's there for us to not avoid it, but really allow ourselves to dive into it. I could have divert the topic and go somewhere else. But I think it's really there for us to not do that, to really dive into it. Hare Krishna, any comment, question, realization, challenges?
The one thing that confused me, well, I always like when things go back to sound because of being raised Christian, and there's that connection between the word and, it always brings it back to sound, that first verse of John. So I like things about sound, but I'm having a hard time understanding the translation of how we got from sky to sound.
Well, we start with sound, and then the sky manifests from sound. Like I said, these are very difficult for our little tiny mind to wrap around. But so there's a false ego in their mind, then there's the senses, and then there is a sense object. The first sense object is sound, and from sound, the gross material element, which is the most subtle of all the gross material elements, sky, manifest.
But translation-wise, I don't see the word sound in there.
Huh?
I'm sorry, but translation-wise, I'm just confused how the word sound comes in. I don't see it in the translation, the word sound. I only see the word sky in the translation.
In the word for word translation or the translation of the verse?
No, in the word for word translation. I don't see.
Let's see. Tamas as a manifestation, Buddha Sukshma, subtle sense object. Subtle sense object. it's sound is the first sense object. So there is 5 sense object, and that's the sound there. So the first object of the senses. So there is the creation of the mind, creation of the senses, and there is like not creation, but manifestation on the subtle form of the senses, manifestation of the on the subtle form, and then there is a sense object. And the first sense object, the most subtle of sense object, is sound. The sense objects are sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. So that's where in a word for word, it's not exactly saying sound, but it said subtle sense objects. So and it starts with sound. And then after the sound, like the sky manifest, and from the sky, touch. The second sense object, and then we go more and more in denser and denser. And yeah. What's happening for you, Kim?
Yeah, I have a hard time with that because it seems kind of important that everything came from sound, because that's kind of something we're taught, and yet it doesn't seem clear in those verses to me. But anyway, it just seems like a jump a little bit to me. There's probably something in the Sanskrit that makes it not a jump, but feels like a jump to an important point to me, but it probably isn't.
Well, in the translation, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada is an empowered incarnation of the Lord to help us. And there it said, the sky is a product of sound. So in the translation, it's quite there, but in a word for word is Bhuta Sukshma Adi. So Adi means first. And Bhuta is like, I don't know, Bhuta, the body, and Shukshma, subtle. So it's Adi that, the first subtle sense object is sound. And, that's all I can say. I don't know more than that.
Okay.
It's for us, I think those questions, like this morning I was meditating, and for last today I want to understand, and by requesting the Lord and serving the Lord, well, I can say that the last 2 days I got more understanding about all that than I did the last 35 years, and I have heard about sound and transforming into sky for 35 years. So, we are not going to understand anything from the Srimad Bhagavatam with our own endeavor of our intellect. It's clear that's why mental speculation is created. Philosophical speculative knowledge comes from the mode of passion. And the philosophical, that's text 31. So as long as we are trying to understand, like I remember once I was reading Bhagavatam, I had a guest in my house for like a few months, maybe 7 months or 8 months. And we were regularly reading Bhagavatam in the evening. And that person was regularly telling me, we will read something and she will say, I cannot wrap my mind around this thing. And I love that expression because it gave me an opportunity to say, the wrapper is way too small. Because we are not going to wrap our mind around any of those concepts. We are not. Our speculative and trying to control it with our intellect, our mind is not going to work. What is going to work is devotional service. Through devotional service, through hearing, chanting, remembering, serving the Lord, then the Lord is going to reveal to us. Right now we are reading, but that's devotional service, to read and to be in a question. Atato Brahma Vigyasa. Jivasya Tattva Vigyasa. So all the time and inquiry, and to inquire and serve the Lord. And the Lord revealed, like, yeah, I feel like I got more revelation about those topics than 35 years ago or even a week ago. And because I was in a question. So yeah, we are not going to wrap our minds around that. And then it's about, okay, let me, like the sense object always have been something that's very mysterious for me. But I can say it's less mysterious now. I really do get how the sense object come it come in the manifestation of the desire of the living entity after the manifestation of the mind and the senses, the subtle manifestation, the undifferentiated manifestation of those things. Gajendra Prabhu, your hand raised.
Yes, Hare Krishna. So I've been doing my best to listen, and I hope I didn't miss it. But just in case you didn't say it, there's a very well-known saying or question: what comes first, or what came first, the chicken or the egg? And I've always easily dismissed that because neither came first. But the real point that I take from this is the answer to what came first, the chicken or the egg, is neither, rather consciousness, the soul. That's all.
Thank you. I love that. No, I didn't speak about the chicken or the egg. And yeah, so it's a irrelevant conversation. It's like a transformation, transforming one way, transforming the other way. And what comes first is the will of the Lord, and the will of the Lord and the desire of the living entities. And the soul, yeah. Thank you. I really appreciate your humoristic point. Anybody else? Hare Krishna. Anandini, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Oh,
Thank
so
you.
nice. Yeah.
Thank you for your.
You.
Yes, I'm in the garden. Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate what you shared. I was curious reading the verse. What are you going to share? And it was so relevant for my life right now. And I want to share an experience I had last week. Like, we went camping in the mountains with Anuk and Noah, and it was a very intense experience. Like, the mountains are so incredibly beautiful. And I was just before the class, I was sharing with Paramatma, like they are so incredibly beautiful and impressive, and at the same time so terrible. Mm-hmm. It was really like a weird experience to connect with this beauty, overwhelming beauty, and at the same time this, yeah, you were saying we are tortured by all the sense objects. Mm-hmm. And I really experienced that in the mountains. Like, I wanted to see the mountains, and we took like a 6-hour hike into the mountains, far away from any, no car, no signal on the cell phone, nothing. It's just nature and eagles and vultures. And it was really, really beautiful. And at the same time, it was so scary. Like, I really got in contact with a deep fear, like existential fear, and wondering like because I experienced a lot of anxiety in my life, and I was thinking, what's the way out of anxiety? And I was thinking, oh yes, I trust Krishna. Of course, that's the way out. And it didn't, I was there in these mountains feeling so much anxiety. And I was starting, it was exhausting. And I started to fear like, oh, am I going to survive this? It was so intense. And then I made a commitment. If I pass over this mountain to the other side, I'm going to lead a stress-free life, and I'm going to do everything like to or increase my effort to identify with a servant of God and not with the mother that experiences anxiety for the children, or the teacher that experiences anxiety about whatever, children and parents, or the coach, or like to and yeah. And as you were speaking, it just made click of, yeah, that's the way out of anxiety. It's not about changing life or finding solutions in life. I mean, maybe also, but the main thing is to not identify with all these roles and just identify with, I'm a servant of God.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. It's interesting. The last time I was in a mountain was in Colorado a year ago. And I went to the mountain and I felt oppressed. And the mountain of Colorado, they are very different than the Alps. I can feel that in the Alps, very high. But the mountain of Colorado, they are so sharp. And it's just, you cannot see anywhere. When unless you're on the top. If you're not on the top, you just don't. And it's so mighty, the mightiness of those mountains. And so you experience the mightiness, and you experience how insignificant you were, and how you could be swallowed in one moment in the material energy. And that's true. That's our position all the time. Our position all the time when it comes to what we are identifying with, our condition, that, like our position, or what we are identifying with can be crushed at any moment. Any moment, anything can happen. Everything can be taken away. A flood can overcome the house. In a mountain, if you have a big storm, it's just like, and the storm can rise any moment. And sometimes rock fall or whatever. So many things can happen in a mountain. And I remember when I was on the ocean, I have more experience like that in the ocean, being in the middle of the ocean, and knowing that one wave can engulf me. It's just one little wave. It's like you're done, you're finished. And so, yes, of course, it's a cause of anxiety to know that any moment we can be engulfed or crushed or just disappear. Anything can happen. We can fall from a ladder when we had a good day ahead of us, or so many things like that, or get sick, or whatever, people doing things or not, so as long as we identified with the body, the mind, as long as we identified with the field of activity containing, like, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a citizen, I'm a whatever. As long as we identified with anything pertaining to the body and our birth, we are going to be in anxiety. And we should be in anxiety, because it's a dangerous place. Padam, padam, vi padam. Natesham, it is at every step there is a danger for that which we identified with. And it can be crushed in a moment. And there is no way out. There is no material solution to any of the material anxiety. And the only real solution is to stop identifying, de-identifying with the body, the mind, the field of activities, to come to identify with who we are, the real ego, eternal servant of Krishna, having a sweet, extremely sweet, rewarding, loving relationship with that supreme person.
Yeah, thank you. Especially with the last thing you said, because I was sharing with Paramatma, like, so it was so incredibly beautiful, and at the same time I feel so tortured, at the same time, and then all of this is Krishna, and it feels so rough. And that's the main experience I have right now, or the main, I don't know, way to experience God is through material nature, and it's so rough. Yeah, so how to come to the sweetness?
But now you are, because you passed the mountain. Did you pass the mountain?
Yes.
So now you're free of anxiety. And it's interesting, when you were sharing, I was thinking, climbing a mountain I remember going for a walk with you the last time, in Switzerland, and climbing a mountain is austerity, tapas, like what Brahma here is tapas. And it is an austerity to climb a mountain and to be in mountain and to be without any connection with society, no cell phone, no nothing, just be alone in the mightiness of the mountain. It is an austerity. It's not comfortable. It's like relinquishing. So like through that austerity of climbing a mountain, then you have new realization and you say, okay, I can climb the mountain. And when I'm on the other side, I will be free from anxiety. And the parallels there for me is like to allowing ourselves to not give in our senses and the mind and do austerity, tapas, then that's the climbing on the mountain. And then we can be on the other side because those voluntary austerity detach us from the false identification. Yes, you share this Paramatma. Okay. Like, yeah, that's where we are. The material energy is so difficult. There's an example I heard a class, I think maybe the day before yesterday, and Srila Prabhupada said something probably I heard it before, but I never noticed. And he said like, to create a child, there is a mother and a father. And the child is going to be born of the mother and going to know the mother. And even if the father goes away, the child is going to always be in contact with the mother. And if he wants to be in contact with the father, he will need to look for the father. So similarly, we are born of the material energy, which the material energy is the mother. And like you said, we are in contact with the mother, and it's a scary mother. But she's really good at teaching. She really is expert. She's here to make sure we go back to our father. But we are always in contact. We never separate from our mother. Versus we can forget or ignore the fact that we have a father if we want to. That was a nice analogy that Srila Prabhupada was taking.
Wow, yes, thank you.
Krishna, anything else? Thank you for being here. Krantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Go Apremanande.
Hare Krishna.